This is becoming the modern day trend, and I absolutely love it, I have to say. Ubisoft makes Assassin's Creed Shadows, literally dies. Blizzard makes modern day World of Warcraft Diablo 4, becomes pretty much irrelevant at this point, honestly. They still make money, but you know, kinda a lot of irrelevancy right there. Obsidian makes Avowed in the Outer Worlds 2, literally dies. And now we have BioWare. Well, honestly, there's a lot of other examples I didn't mention. But now we also have BioWare that made Dragon Age the Veilguard and also literally died. Bethesda Starfield. And also, guess what they did? That's right, they died. Wow. It is very impressive how massive gaming companies that have been historically juggernauts are just making one over-budget, completely garbage project that has Vogue in common. All of them are Vogue, in fact. And they just lose everything and are pretty much forced to almost close down. It's a miracle how these things happen.
You know, guys, denial is strong. Denial is something that a lot of people experience throughout their life at some point in time.
Denial is for women.
And it seems like Dragon Age the Veilguard fans, if you even want to call them that, are still, even till this day, experiencing denial. We're about a year out from Dragon Age the Veilguard.
If you ever thought that Dragon Age Veilguard looks promising, looks even remotely good, or has any shot at not being slop, of course you're good. You're never going to stop living in denial, because clearly reality is a little bit too complicated for you. Hits it with the fade. That's right.
Release and massive failure that ended up in the destruction of an entire studio, but you still have people out here all over social media, especially now more than ever, trying to push the narrative that Dragon Age the Veilguard was actually a success and the entirety of the chuds were wrong on this one. It's so funny. These people are the ones that'll...
Yeah, there's still actually people who unironically do this. Dragon Age the Veilguard was a success, Sound of Midnight was a success, Avowed was a success, The Outer Worlds 2 was a success. Assassin's Creed Shadows was a success. And so many examples of this. They just keep lying non-stop. The newest example was Ghost of Yotei is a success, which really annoyed me, and I'm pretty sure it annoyed everyone, because no one wants to talk about Ghost of Yotei in general. No one. And it's, again, not a success. The fact that the first game made like 5 million sales in what, 5 years or something like that, and Dragon Age, not Dragon Age, but Ghost of Yotei now needs 500 years to do the same, if it even ever achieves that, is not exactly the greatest success story I have heard in my life. In fact, it sounds pretty bad.
Be desperate to want you to admit when you are wrong, but they can never just sit there and actually admit when they are wrong. All of us are wrong at some point in time in life, and at the end of the day, we all have to admit when we are wrong, and we also have to admit when we are right. And in this situation, Dragon Age the Veilguard was so obviously going to be a video game that was going to flop, considering the betrayal of fans from all aspects, by the way. We're talking...
Betrayal? What betrayal? The modern audience deserves a game. Oh yes. They are so much more lucrative. Listen, a single person from the modern audience is worth 500 of you chuds. Yes. Okay? Those 50 people that played Dragon Age Veilguard are so much more valuable as an audience than the roughly 20 million fans the Dragon Age franchise had before it decided to go woke and broke. Okay? You need to understand that.
About fans of original Dragon Age games, we're talking about fans of RPGs in general, we're talking about the betrayal from literally every standpoint that you possibly can betray a person who likes a particular style of video game. Dragon Age of Veilguard is exactly that, and in today's video, we are going to go over the massive levels of cope that is happening not only on social media, but also all across gaming media as a whole, because even major establishments are trying to talk about that Dragon Age Day came and went, and nobody is talking about the video game that they all loved due to every other reason other than being a good video game.
not so
So hit that
based.
like button, subscribe button, all that good YouTube algorithm. Today's video, we're going to start off with a post here from LegacyKillaHD over on X, and it says the following: Dragon Age the Veilguard fans are very funny people. And again, I don't know who he's talking about when it comes to Dragon Age the Veilguard fans. I feel like most of them that claim to be fans are probably...
Yeah, it's just the lying Twitter people that see a Vogue game and they're like, oh, it's a success. Did I buy it? No. What is this? I have never seen it. Oh, it's the game I said was a success. Yes, I recognize it. It's a masterpiece. Yeah, they just lie.
people who are just, you know, Twitter bots. You know, I'm not saying there aren't real people that enjoy Dragon Age.
Oh, I don't think they're bots. I think all of those people are real, sadly. I think a lot of these conversations that people consider are bots are not bots at all. They're real people. They're just that stupid. I mean, have you... Listen, I'll share a thing that I believe, okay? Have you seen those videos where people go in America on the streets and ask people questions? Those people are fucking retarded, aren't they? Obviously, everyone thinks that. And it's not hard to find them, okay? It's seemingly not really hard to find them. You just need to wait a couple of seconds and you're gonna have some kind of a gem of an opinion no matter what, right? So, considering it's so easy to find these people on the streets, why would people who spout similar or even dumber opinions on Twitter be bots? I think they're real people. I see no reason to assume people that stupid wouldn't exist.
The Veilguard, I just feel like the number is obviously so much lower than social media tried to portray itself as. But in any case, they say, and yes, they are actually arguing that it was a success. Number one, it sold 50% less than expected. Number two, Steam user rating is mixed. Number three, most of the Veilguard team was actually fired. Now, I want you guys...
And they went to, you know, work at other games like Mass Effect 5 and Wizards of the Coast, whatever thing that they're launching.
Guys understand about, you know, this, before we get into this whole situation about the cope and whatever these people are saying.
Oh,
I want you guys to understand, Dragon Age the Veilguard, when it released, there was a lot of information flying around about it at the time, right? And the truth is that Dragon Age the Veilguard had a pretty high concurrent player count. But the reason why, in my opinion, this game had a high concurrent player count...
Yeah, this was honestly one of the most successful releases for a blatantly woke game that we have had. The most successful one is, again, Ghost of Yote. But Dragon Age Veilguard is the second most successful one, and everyone knows that this is abysmal. And the thing about this is, oh, actually, Borderlands technically is also a successful launch. Bad. Well, it's not actually successful if you know anything about it, but you know, people don't consider Borderlands 4 woke, even though it is absolutely beyond woke. Like, everything about Borderlands 4 is woke.
Is because not only the amount of people who were streaming the game, which was a lot, by the way, everybody wanted to stream the massive shit show that was going to be Dragon Age the Veilguard. We can clearly see from all the rumors that we heard about the game. We can clearly see from all the leaks that we heard about the game. You know, the famous scene with Tosh, how she literally sat down awkwardly, quietly at a family setting with the main character, and just out of nowhere said, "So,
thank you."
So, I'm non-binary.
What the hell?
So brave.
What does that mean?
The word you are looking for is, wow, how stunning and brave, bigot.
It means I don't feel like a man or a woman.
If you are neither a man nor a woman, then what are you?
Non-binary. I just said.
That's not actually the... The funny part is that's not the answer to the question. I don't even understand why these people think that that's somehow answered the question. You just said you're not either of those, and when you're asked what are you, then your answer is not either of those. It's not an answer. Like, how do you not understand this?
And I'm going to use they instead of she from now on.
If this is because I have criticized your dress or your manners...
It isn't!
I mean, horrible.
Under the Qun, The term for one whose gender does not match the one given to them at birth was a cunithlock. Perhaps you are like that.
Why do you have to keep picking at it? Why can't you just be happy for me?
Evatosh, shut
I mean, you literally brought it up, by the way. It's like, she didn't do anything, okay? You just kind of brought it up. You started this. What do you mean why you're picking at it? This is so insane.
Krotoebra.
So I'm supposed to struggle with who I am? Even if I don't feel like I fit? Even if I feel wrong?
No, you misunderstood.
Then say
There are solutions.
it better.
Which are accepting, everyone accepting who you are, YouTube, obviously.
Why am I never enough for you?
Brave.
I will go. Thank you for inviting me to your home.
It's the weirdest thing, and once we all saw that stuff leak, we knew that this game was going to be legendary content, because quite frankly, this level of betrayal to the original franchise is just, you don't get to see this too often. You see betrayals every now and then, of course, but we're talking about legendary betrayal. We're talking about the complete opposite of what Dragon Age ever used to be, and it just honestly is hilarious. So when that scene ended up leaking, everybody knew that this was going to be the moment where we're going to see the destruction and the death of Dragon Age, and it really is quite sad when you think about it. Right now, this game over on SteamDB, again, had an all-time peak over a year ago at 89,418, and that peak fell off very quickly, and it never...
This game died in like 4 days or something, if I remember correctly. 2, 4, maybe it was 6 days. But yeah, it died something in that range. It lost more than half of its players. It was pretty impressive.
Recovered. There's 1,446 people playing within a 24-hour period at the time of filming this video, with 1,010 people playing the game right now at the time of filming this video. Now, this game just recently went on sale, so people probably decided to pick it up because right now, the cheapest price of this game ever was recorded at $20.99. So the game has gone on super sale, and this is when games like Dragon Age tend to gain some legs, because otherwise nobody's going to want to buy it at full price. That's part of the reason why this game never sold the way that it could have, because the price was too high and what it was offering was too little. Not only that, the game has 42,000 reviews right now, sitting at a 68% rating over on Steam. It is pretty damn abysmal. So
it's actually insane that it keeps that rating above 60%.
Overall, this game and its history, everybody is very well aware of. Now let's go over what LegacyKilla is talking about over here on X. So he shared some screenshots, and it's of a person called X Dustlight, and says, Veilguard didn't kill Dragon Age. EA.
Oh, I saw this tweet.
Dragon Age. Oh my god, bro. The amount of people that try to take the blame away from the BioWare developers and try to shift it to EA only. It's like, bro, you realize that both of them are responsible for the reason why Dragon Age died. They've self-expressed...
That's actually a lie. Okay, so this is what's happening. People are constantly bringing up, oh, EA said make it single player, then they said make it multiplayer, then they said make it single player again, then they said make it multiplayer again, and then they finally said make it single player again. Yeah, I'm sure that impacts some things, but I mean, EA did not tell them established gender identity in the game, okay? The EA's push for multiplayer to single player and back and forth again did not make them make the talent trees so stupid and boring and dull. It didn't make the combat be stupid, boring, and dull. Okay, the itemization, skill trees, character dialogue, all of these things are not impacted by going multiplayer or single player. Now they can be slightly, but on a base level, what we got is just horrible. It doesn't matter if you're for what you're building and then what you're rebuilding for. These things should be decent no matter what. Okay? Single player to multiplayer is not that... It is a big difference, but it's not that huge of a difference itemization-wise and whatnot.
That the game was successful and that they still decided to bury it. The game isn't perfect, but it didn't betray itself or its fans. Stop grifting. Oh my god. First off, grifting, like really? Grifting because he has an I cannot stand it. It's so annoying. These people know that they're misusing that word, but anyway, it is what it is. I already talked about that in length. So the game
The word grifting already has no meaning.
Game absolutely did betray itself, and the game did betray its fans. And the truth is that Dragon Age: The Veilguard was in development hell. It ended up being multiple different iterations. It started off as a single player game, and then ended up becoming a live service game for it to only become a single player game again with minimal RPG elements and completely on rails for the most part. Like, this game, I want you to understand, absolutely did betray itself, and especially its fans. They made some of the most cringe writing that I think I've ever seen in modern day video game, which again, we're going to talk about that as we continue the video. But this game did betray people. This game did betray its fans. And just because, let's say this person is real, let's say they're not a bot, which again, I have a hard time, believing, but let's say they're a real person. That's okay. It's okay for you to like a video game that everybody else hates. Do you understand that? That doesn't mean that people...
It is, but that's not going to save you from the fact that you're probably low IQ.
Are grifting. It just means that you happen to be the exception and not the rule for this particular situation or this particular game. It's fine that you like it. Go ahead. Nobody's saying you can't like it, but you also can't sit up here and tell people what they can and cannot say about a video game that you happen to like. Again, I don't understand these people. These people are like, well, I like it, so that means everybody else has to like it. Otherwise, you're grifting. Shut the fuck up, bro. What have you been talking about? So this person was quote tweeting Legacy Killer saying, dead franchise, Veilguard literally killed Dragon Age. You can blame whoever you want, but that BioWare team didn't kill.
Hey, by the way, this is like the best portrayal of stupidity ever. Oh, the company said that they actually think it was successful enough. That means it's good. Oh, Jesus.
To, and then it basically cuts off because I can't see the screenshot. And then right after, by the way, right after quote tweeting Legacy Killer, this person does the obvious, right? They didn't even wait, by the way. They didn't even wait to get any responses, very little responses. They ended up saying, I'm muting this because I don't feel like arguing with a brain dead asshat, and because someone even worse than you has found it. But the game was a critical success and had the highest player count on Steam for an
critical
EA game ever. Plus, EA turned around and called it a success later. Now, I don't remember.
So EA initially calls it unsuccessful, then they turn around and call it successful, and that makes it successful. You're kind of betraying how little their words can be trusted in the first place, okay? So you can't call it unsuccessful and then be like, you know what, actually? The quarterly revenue, and we need to talk about all of that. Let's call it successful instead. Nope.
Remember EA calling it a success. I remember them saying that it sold half of what they wanted it to sell. So again, I don't know how that's a success, number one. Number two, the reason why this game has such a high player count on Steam is because EA back in, I believe, 2020 ended up putting their games back on Steam after removing them from Steam because they were trying to compete with their own launcher called Origin. And then that ended up failing to the point where they started doing EA Play subscription, and then they put their games back on Steam, allowing you to purchase them. So again, of course, this game is going to have the highest...
Everyone comes crawling back to Steam at some point.
His player count because it was the most recent game that came out on Steam after Steam has exploded in growth over the last 5 years, which again would coincide with EA putting their games back on Steam at a time where Steam had a much lower player count, even though it was always high, to be fair. But still, Steam is astronomically bigger now than it's ever been, and the customers that are going to potentially play this game were going to be on Steam, not EA. Now again, I want you guys to understand something. Then they try to say the game was a critical success. Who gives a shit? The journalists right now, which is going to be later in this video, are currently melting down right now because nobody cared about their reviews enough to save Dragon Age: The Veilguard. You understand that nobody cares, for the most part, about the mainstream gaming media, unless you're talking about super normies that still think IGN is something to be considered. At the end of the day, man, most
super normies.
of the time these review scores end up getting criticized, laughed at, because they're so ideologically driven, especially from outlets like Kotaku or Eurogamer, for example. These people care more about their feelings and representation.
I don't even think that super normies, if they even exist honestly nowadays, care about this. Because the reality is, think about it, if you're a super normie and you have no idea these conversations exist online and on YouTube, you still probably at some point are gonna go to the comments section on IGN or wherever, and you're gonna see people constantly make fun of their decisions and everything that they do. So I don't think that's gonna work out.
and they care about what's actually in the game. And they try to convince everybody that Dragon Age: The Veilguard was a 9 out of 10. They had all of these reviews ready to go the moment the game dropped. 9 out of 10, 10 out of
Creators was a 6 out of 10 bis.
10, glowing reviews, the most amazing game ever. Absolutely no mistakes with it. Perfect game. And then all of a sudden people realize, oh, that's not true. And then the journalist came out and said, you know what? Well, actually, they're right. It's not true, but we're still going to keep it at a 9 out of 10 because, you know, reasons. It's such a joke. Nobody cares about the critical success of a video game. All people care about is what other actual gamers are reviewing the game at. And quite frankly, Veilguard got felted on the reviews, especially in the beginning. And then, of course, Legacy Killer showcases an article saying, confirmed, Dragon Age: The Veilguard's writers and producers were laid off as part of BioWare's restructuring. I want you guys to understand, you know, at the title of this video is probably going to reference this video game killed an entire studio. Dragon Age: The Veilguard was the result of this studio from BioWare Edmonton essentially closing down, and the majority of the people working there got laid off, with some of them being absorbed into EA, but not many. Most of them ended up getting laid off, and this game is the reason why it happened. And the funny thing is, there's been internal conflict at this video game with some of the people who work there. Some of them saying that EA is the reason why the game was a jumbled mess, saying that EA essentially gave very little support to Dragon Age, right? They came up with all these excuses, but then over on Reddit, I believe, some writers that used to work on Veilguard ended up saying, no, we made the game exactly the way we wanted to make it. We made the exact game.
Oh, I don't remember that. Interesting.
Game that we had in our vision, and people saying that we did it because of XYZ reason is not true. So these people are still, at the end of the day,
I mean, clearly, by the way, I honestly never doubted this, that they did exactly what they wanted. Did you see the game director for Dragon Age Veilguard? It's a literal, well, you know what it is. So, of course, no, they did. The whole established trans identity is just some kind of trauma dump BS. Everyone knows that.
They're being fired, losing their jobs. They still are doubling and tripling down on the ideology that cost them their job in the first place. So after checking out LegacyKillaHD's post over here on X, he says, as I said before, you can blame this game's obvious failure on a number of factors, but it doesn't change the fact that it was a massive flop. Some still enjoyed it. More power to you if that's you. A majority of the Dragon Age fan base thought...
I'm tired to pretend, honestly, the fact that we have something that's objectively garbage by 99% of the world, that we still need to respect the opinions of the completely clueless, soulless people who actually think that this slop is actually good, okay? I don't... No. Not more power to you. You should feel bad because you like something that's objectively horrible.
Was turned off and didn't even bother touching it. I agree 100%. That's exactly where I'm at, man. I've been a major fan of Dragon Age, although I feel like I'm one of those people that feels like Origins was the tip-top Dragon Age. And at this point, I wish we could get another one, but I know that we're never going to. You know, our new Dragon Age, The Origins, you know what game that was? That was Baldur's Gate 3. I'm just being real with you. Unfortunately, we're just never going to get a modern Dragon Age game that plays and looked like Origins ever again. I think that's pretty much done. And this game is the reason why it's done. This game is the reason why Dragon Age is going to end on that very awful note. And there's nothing that's going to change that. So after reading all of this, I ended up deciding to go and check out some of these articles and just happened to look up and see, okay, well, what's the overall sentiment right now 1 year later about Dragon Age: The Veilguard? Well, it's not good. You have establishments like Kotaku saying the following: Dragon Age Day comes and goes in complete silence just 1 year after Veilguard. This comes after a ton of internal strife before, during, and after Dragon Age: The Veilguard. And this is actually true. So number one, obviously Dragon Age Day came and went because you guys killed the franchise. That's not our fault. That's your fault. You guys completely killed the franchise. You went too on the nose with this stuff. This is the problem. This is why I say modern day writers...
I mean, I would say it's not actually good if they try to hide it also. So, you know...
are the number one problem in the entertainment industry as a whole, including video games. Modern day writers do not understand how to write certain things into their stories and make it an enjoyable experience. They go too on the nose. They want to tell you about their ideology so bad that they circumvent everything else. They ignore everything else, and
they don't want to tell you about their ideology. That is, I think, a misunderstanding that people have. These people just don't understand anything else but writing effectively about themselves. So, they cannot help it but to make a world from their own opinions, because they are incapable to see outside of that small box.
Ends up being a situation like this where you have scenes that you have characters in a fantasy game telling you that they're non-binary in the most awkward way possible, as if some writer was describing the way that they came out to their family. It was so cringe. Like, this is the biggest problem. If you really want to be a writer in entertainment, gaming, whatever, you have to understand that if you're going to self-insert, make it enjoyable, make it something that is actually truly part of the story. Don't make it something that it takes people out of the story that you're trying to sell them. And at the end of the day, Dragon Age is trying to sell them a dark fantasy story that you completely pulled people out of the moment you pull that nonsense with Tosh. And not only that, other things in the game as well that are very evident when you play through the game. Now, just a reminder for those of you that don't know, I did review the game. I was asked to by my fans to check out the game, and I absolutely did, because as a Dragon Age fan,
Does this look fun, by the way, to you?
I was like, you know what? Let me try to be as objective as possible. And when I reviewed this game, I talked about the positives, because there were positives in the game. I talked about the good, I talked about the mid, I talked about the ugly, and I talked about the wow. You know,
Game is so poorly tuned that he can only kill the tanky enemies in a reasonable amount of time, which is still 15 times too long, by knocking them off the map. Doesn't that just feel ecstatic?
know what I'm saying? Like, there is so many things that were in that game, but unfortunately the good was far outweighed by the bad. There was so many issues with the gameplay. So like, I literally spent my entire time spamming the same 2 skills all the way to the end of the game. I'm not even kidding. When you want to talk about simplistic combat, unsatisfying combat, that is the literal example that is Dragon Age: The Veilguard. So again, I tried to give the game a fair chance, but ultimately it just was one of those things where it kept falling on its face. And yes, there were internal strife, like Kotaku said. The internal strife before, during, and after over at BioWare and outside of BioWare once everybody got fired was everywhere. You had multiple people chiming in that used to work at BioWare, that currently worked at BioWare, or that, you know, ended up getting fired from Edmonton, whatever it may be. They were all chiming in on their own opinions, and some of them, or a lot of them, I should say, were disagreeing with each other and saying, no, this is EA's fault, this is our fault, this is your fault, this is everybody's fault except for the...
Who cares? Dust to dust. They deserve it. And all of these people are now, well, a lot of these people, I should say, are now making Mass Effect 5. I hope you're excited, because it's not gonna be good. In any case, one studio got shut down, that's what they deserve, and nothing really changes. Anyway, that was Hypnotic, 10 out of 10, bye!